Yeah, I don't think that America is a racist country, whether it be culturally or systemically, but my primary focus is systematically.
I see. Well, I'm not here to question that.
Totally.
Do you think it was at one point?
Yes, of course.
When did that change came about?
I'm not sure when exactly the country was completely absolved of systematic racism, but what I will say is if I wake up one morning and I notice there's a big pimple right here, and it's yellow and juicy and it's huge, and then 2 weeks later I wake up and I look in the mirror and that pimple's gone, I don't need to know exactly like when the pimple completely faded to know that it's not on my face anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. I'm not saying that it wasn't or was not, but I'm just curious as to how issues such big as racism, systemical racism, how does that change come about? Really, I'm just questioning as like traditions or cultures or even policies that come about that change that.
Yeah, it'd be mostly policy change. So whether it's issuing like civil rights acts or creating amendments to the Constitution like the 14th, or Supreme Court's interpretation of different laws and changing what those laws mean via their interpretation or the constitutional interpretation, that would be how those things change.
So you'd say the laws come first, and cultural change comes as a byproduct of that.
Totally, yeah. I think, of course, when segregation ends and suddenly white and black people are in the same spaces, white people are generally probably going to become less racist because now they're in the same room with these people and probably realize, oh, maybe they're not so bad, or they even make friends with them, and now it's like they stick up for their friends or whatever. But over, the course of decades, I think America has surely become a country that is not only not racist, but anti-racist. When we find out that somebody has done something vaguely, possibly racist, it seems like we cancel them and publicly shame them rather than lift them up and support their voices. We've seen this with so many celebrities, politicians, and just normal people on the internet who maybe make videos or appeared in a video once or whatever. It seems like we have a culture that's shifted towards actively shaming people who are racist or say things that are racist. And I think it's actually gone so far that now we shame people who aren't racist because we think they're racist.
Well, to that extent, I do think that's one of the defining features, I think, that speaks to America being not racist. Because being from Brazil, I was born there, grew up there, I would definitely qualify Brazil, if there was like a scale of more racist, I would put Brazil more racist than America because people don't talk about it as much. Because there isn't public outrage, because people avoid talking about the subject. Even though Brazil is like the second biggest black population in the world, I think it still is systemically a lot more racist than here. And yeah, I think it's one of the big features and good features of America that people are very vocal of issues of those, and they become mainstream media. Something else that I had thought about is, do you still think, though, America not being a racist country, it still is a thing, but in veiled form in a way? Because I hear very often people like, when black people are seeking real estate and something of the sort, it can be like brought up that it comes in very veiled forms. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I don't think that I think that a white person who has a bad credit score is probably just as likely to not be able to purchase real estate as a black person who has a bad credit score. I don't think there's any discrimination there. I think that people decide who they give loans to based on their financial history, and if you have a bad financial history, you're probably not going to be able to buy real estate. With that being said, there are millions of Americans that are black in the United States who purchase homes and own homes and live in those homes. So I don't think that it's I don't think there's veiled racism in the systems that govern the country. I do think racism exists in America, and I do think there are racist people in this country. But if we have let's see this circle here. So what color is that circle? Not the outline, the circle itself.
What's the color of the paper?
What color is the paper?
It's like white, off-whitish.
Perfect. White. There's a black dot on that circle. Is this circle still white or is it black?
It's still white.
So the circle, this little dot here would represent like racism, right? So if there's a little bit of racism on the circle, the circle's still
I
white.
see what you're saying.
You see what I mean? So, like, just some racism in the country is an unavoidable thing. Every country in the world has some degree of racism on an individual basis. Same with every country in the history of man. But it doesn't mean the society itself is racist.
I agree with you on that point. Okay, this is not completely unrelated, but I don't think the analogy of the circle is a good one. I agree with what you said, but I think the analogy is bad because, if this little dot is racism and racist people, I think this circle doesn't account for the historical aspect of the circle. The circle might have been very black at some point, and now it's changed. So
Sure.
the black dot is ever changing, ever constant, and so
This is the circle before. And the black represents racism.
okay.
This is a black circle, right?
Yes.
Okay. Well, the black is dirt, and over time that dirt has washed off, and now this is the circle. Circle's white, right? It was black, and now it's white.
Yes.
So if the white is absence of racism, the country is absent racism now, I would say, both systematically and culturally. I think again we've had such a cultural shift in this country to become anti-racist. It seems that people actively fight against racism on a general basis. I think the average person in this country is not a racist person, and I don't think there's any laws in the books that discriminate against racial minorities.
Totally. I don't understand much of policies regarding races, honestly. I'm pretty uninformed when it comes to that, but
Sure.
general feel is I guess I could agree with that.